What is the saddest truth about smart people? As a person that was repeatedly told how smart I was growing up, 1. Without social skills it doesn't mean crap. 2. It easily turns into how you identify yourself and can wreck your mental health. If I'm not smart about everything, what good am I? 3. Smart is relative. Number 2 hits hard. I am 31 and peaked in my school years. It's depressing as F, and I am embarrassed around family because I think they all imagine me to be the most successful of all the siblings/cousins I grew up with, and instead I'm pretty sure I'm the biggest failure. I was a teacher's pet, overachiever, had straight A's, friends would hate me because I rarely had to study outside of the 5 minutes before class and would still get among the highest grades. Teachers, adult family members, all of them would single me out, in a good way, for being smart. I was constantly praised for crap that required little effort/strain, and it made succeeding feel like a given. Many of them finished college. I literally dropped out in year 1. All of them are employed, and several with pretty nice careers. I have been unemployed for a long time and live with my parents' ATM. Being smart was my thing and felt like it was ripped out from under me overnight. For the last 10 years it's been a battle with depression and the voice in my head constantly calling me stupid. I can't remember a time when I didn't feel like a massive failure, and have a hard time feeling like my younger self was actually me. Sorry for the personal rant, but that's all to say making it your identity can definitely wreck your mental health and self-worth as soon as you start failing and having difficulties as an adult. I do not consider myself smart anymore, haven't for a long time, because despite having some book smarts I have never adapted to the actual world, and I believe adapting is a necessary component. Praise kids for working hard and trying hard, not only for the things they are naturally good at. Edit, mobile typos. I hear you and fought many of the same battles. I don't always win against that particular demon, but I highly recommend that you read the 4 Agreements. It helped me forgive myself a little and has helped me to come to terms with being good enough. Being kind to yourself is one of the best gifts you can give yourself. You absolutely have other laudable qualities than just being smart. As for being embarrassed around family, I used to be too. I had a white-collar job that made me miserable and depressed. I changed for a blue-collar job that gave me a sense of purpose and accomplishment that pencil pushing never did. My relatives all moaned about what a loss it was that I was using my back, not my brains. I simply decided then and there to not give a single crap about what they thought, since they obviously somehow thought my job reflected on them and didn't really care about me or why I chose to do what I did. You are worthy of loving yourself and forgiving yourself. You are more than your brains. And the only person who you owe an explanation to is yourself. I hope you can find a way to be kind to yourself. I am rooting for you. Makes me kind of thankful that despite my teachers calling me smart whenever I would bring home a test with a good grade, my pops would make sure to have a question he knew I wouldn't know the answer to so I wouldn't get too much of an ego. Putting your kid in competitive spaces that aren't school allows for a positive experience to consistently improve yourself while being aware of how you aren't special. Dad, I got an A+ on my history paper. I will only be proud of you if you know the president that overdosed on cherries. It was President Zachary Taylor, by the way, morons. Happiness in intelligent people is the rarest thing I know. Forgot where this is from. It's Ernest Hemingway. Thanks. Smart people can often see the bad stuff coming and can also see that it really isn't preventable unless people can be convinced to change their behavior, and people can rarely be convinced to change their behavior. It's depressing watching negative events unfold that you predicted. More often than not, being proved right is really depressing. Yup, even when you give ample warning and people don't listen. I'm family friends with an epidemiologist. They have been warning that we're due for a pandemic and we're not prepared for years. He was humored at best until last year. He was also one of maybe 5 people in the world that predicted NYC's cases would drop rapidly during the week where 1/10 people in the city had it. Smart people get ignored until the moment when they're right, but it's about being prepared beforehand. My sister is a super intelligent person, and gets so frustrated because she's able to just predict things, no one listens to her, and then everyone is like, who could have seen this coming, when exactly what she says will happen. Happens. Which leaves you disengaged and becoming increasingly nihilistic because there really is no other option unless you want to go insane. Most smart people never find meaningful application for their intelligence. In employment, generally underutilized. I love finding new, more efficient ways to get my job done. And I love being told no. We've always done it this way. Once a week. Oh God, yes. Every employer says they want creative, out-of-the-box thinkers. They don't, they want yes people who they won't have to worry about them having an original thought. My work life got a lot easier and I stopped beating my head against the wall the day I realized that creative line was weapons-grade bullcrap. Oh, they want creative. They want you to find creative ways to make them look good without any effort on their part. I've found ways to make my job more efficient and I get great reviews from partners outside my agency, but I beg those partners not to tell my home office. It'd only result in me getting more of the work, especially the hard-to-crack cases. My supervisor breaks her arm to pat herself on the back when I'm recognized at any function. No good deed goes unpunished. Reminds me of the time boss told me to start up selling crap. First shift, overnight, I sold off the entire stock of muffins or something that were only a few cents if you bought them with coffee. Told boss in the morning, and he chews me out because they wouldn't be restocked for like 5 days. Reminds me of a local grocery store. They started carrying some really good butter and milk from a small dairy, which is a big deal on an isolated island where most milk is that irradiated box crap that doesn't need to be refrigerated. The stuff sold like crazy. One day it was out of stock, as usual, but we noticed the tags were gone and asked the owner. He said he quit ordering it because he couldn't keep it on the shelves. So, of course, the only other grocery store on the island got to buy up the entire stock, and ultimately took a sizable chunk of the grocery business. Wow, what a dumbass. He said he quit ordering it because he couldn't keep it on the shelves. This is, wow. Boy, that's got to be the #1 stupidest answer to a question, because we've always done it this way. I go nuts, on the inside, when someone tells me this. I always feel like answering something like, well, you've been failing all this time because you've always done it this way. Robots can always do something the same way, but a human has a brain and is, in theory, paid to use it. I was literally told this in my last performance review: we know you're really smart, but you have to sell it better. I had just pulled like a week of 12-hour work days and I was told to send out more mails. I hate my existence. Software engineer? My husband is this guy. If the managers would just stop having 4 meetings a day, he'd already have solved the majority of their most glaring architectural problems. But right now he doesn't even have 2 uninterrupted hours a day to focus on minor bug fixes, because he has to spend 4 hours a day explaining what he's working on, how it's going, and what his strategy is going to be, to 8 managers who don't have the technical chops to understand what he's doing anyways, but they like to write down what he says so they can regurgitate it to their own bosses at some other meeting. The process, meetings, and checkboxing has become the point at this company, not actually producing a functional product that meets the customer's needs. The emotional and cognitive drain of this is soul-crushing and I wish he'd look for a different job. Honest truth time from someone who has been in the industry decades and burnt out twice. Nearly every place is exactly like that. You have people managing projects involving things they don't understand, committing to deadlines on your behalf they haven't asked about, and then you get held to those deadlines. We have project managers who don't understand the project, aren't managers, and exist to move tickets around on Jira boards while pretending they have an actual clue what is going on, not helped by developers who never update the tickets, document anything, or do proper code reviews, running at the cliff edge like suicidal lemmings on meth. The best places I've worked, the leads, like me, have interacted directly with the business and managed the projects directly, which removes an entire layer of confusion but requires you to be proficient in 2 almost diametrically opposed disciplines. Managing people well is itself a hard role without all the technical skills required to be a lead, makes it easier to bypass corporate Chinese whispers, and lets the people implementing the thing make suggestions to the business about a better way to solve the problem before you spend 3 programmer years and 6 MTHS on it. The trick insofar as there is one is twofold. 1, acquire enough knowledge of the domain and the business that you can speak to the business people in their realm on their terms. 2, earn enough trust so that they'll let you do things your way with reduced oversight. That sounds awful and I feel for him. I've been exactly where he was. I hope he finds a better place. It is at least a hot market, and with remote becoming the norm his options have opened up. Yeah, I feel like the mid-level management of this company has outgrown its use and functionality. But it's not like any of those people are ever going to allow themselves to be seen as redundant. I think he's a bit intimidated by job hunting during previous recessions, and now that he's in his mid-40s already worried about possible age discrimination. The local job market seems to treat age as a liability because people want to be paid for fairly experience, and the South is all about devaluing everyone as much as possible. But you're right that I think he should be shooting for the moon while remote work is the new norm, not just a perk. They do in the form of hobbies/interests, but unless they're working in some sort of specialized field, it is rarely monetized. Are pub quizzes meaningful? God, I hope so. I was a career nanny for 10 years. I worked for 2 families where the parents were doctors. 2 extremely successful anesthesiologists and a cancer research doctor. I saw their lives from the most intimate view due to working 50+ hours in their home with their children. The saddest thing is that a lot of them are so smart that they stand out as the oddball in all non-academic situations. This is abundantly clear when watching them try to make connections with other, more of average IQ parents. They're almost just too brainy and awkward. I have to assume this is a lifelong struggle. It just seems isolating at times, I guess is my point here. They're almost just too brainy and awkward? When you passionately work in a very specific niche of research, that work can take up your whole mind. You love work, you're brilliant at it, and it's your big thing. Then you're at a party where everyone talks about the last soccer game, that new Netflix series, and the latest trends in romance novels. And you realize you were so deeply focused on work that you never saw any of that. Why should you? Fitting in is important, sure, but don't waste your time just for that. There are always other topics that are mutual to everyone. Be it children, alcohol, other non-related hobbies, the weather, your trip to whatever you did last summer, etc. Also, people love to talk about themselves. If you can get the other person talking, active listening is really all you need with 95% of people. That's kind of the thing they're talking about. They're so engulfed in their work that 90% of anything they've done in the past month is related to their work. Many folks like that, especially doctors, need to take care of themselves and take some time to develop better around it. Plus 60 hours is incredibly draining beyond just physically. In response to why should you, humans are social beings, and whether we like it or not, isolation hurts mentally and physically. Before any self-proclaimed introverts chime in to say they don't need to be social, please ask yourselves, why the F are you on Reddit? To tell other people they're wrong mostly. Disclaimer, I am not a genius. I have, though, consistently tested into the top 5% of the population in the US with a high IQ. I am not a doctor, I work with my hands. That being said, I have a really hard time connecting to people. I don't have many friends, and ones I do have are often like me. I mean, I'm not a hermit or a butthole. It's not that I think I'm better than anyone. I just don't have much in common with most people. And this sounds so effing snobby, and I really don't mean it in that way. I don't think my thinking style is superior. Odin knows I'm effing miserable due to my thinking. But there's a depth difference. Most people seem to get to a certain working level of understanding and analysis and stop. Not on everything, there's plenty of average people that know a subject inside and out. But I crave that depth and reflection. This is why I have a hard time connecting to people in a deep way. Our interests and thinking are different normally. I have plenty of acquaintances, but very few close friends who really know me. Edit, yeah, y'all mad I said Odin and I'm super dumb and cringy and I'm an elitist. I regret nothing. Read other replies, I'm done explaining. I picked up a new hobby less than a year ago and learned a bunch of things, the different techniques and tools than anything I could think of. I talked to a coworker about it who had been doing it for over 20 years and he had no idea what I was talking about. Oh, this is the worst. And then they're like, how do you know this? And I'm like, how don't you? I literally did the bare minimum of background research using YouTube. Apparently that's not normal. My wife asks me how I find so much to do on my phone. But I'm usually like 5 tabs deep into researching hydroponically grown cucumbers or how to make a potato cannon. I did that with brewing beer. Haha, my boss was big into it and I started going off on chemical makeup of water profiles and like yeast attenuation and he just stared at me. I'm glad I'm not alone. I have an MD and really struggle with watching people make bad health decisions based on fads or popular opinion. I try to show sources or data but typically people aren't interested, or they assume they're not seeing other data that argue their viewpoint, whether or not it exists. They have no interest in delving deeper. When I try to explain why their interpretation may be incorrect, I'm told not to talk down to them. It's simultaneously maddening and depressing. Man, I have noticed that there's a huge swing of anti-intellectualism going on in the world currently. It's upsetting. People are ignoring educated, informed, fact-based advice and opinion and just listening to whoever is yelling loudest currently. I'm not an MD, but I am a highly specialized professional in technology. I get, in essence, the same kind of attitude. Obviously nothing as important as health, but people latch onto buzzwords and watch a 10-minute YouTube video then think they know the nuanced ins and outs. I truly hope we all wake up soon and start listening to the informed people. Imagine how unbelievably frustrating it must be for the people who dedicate their entire lives to studying a tiny sliver of academia, only for a bunch of idiots with Facebook to insult and ignore them. I do wonder if I would have liked something with more concrete results. At least with engineering or technology, you've got objects they use every day to point at. Medicine is hard because the results aren't always tangible, for example, disease prevention resulting in something not happening. They'd rather do what they want and demand a quick fix later. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.